myself. My name is Michael Naughton, and I've been working for the Town of Huntington since 1984. And for those of you who are not on Long Island, the Town of Huntington is about in the middle of Long Island on the North Shore, just east of the Nassau-Suffolk border. We have 93 square miles of land and about almost that much of water also, and about 200,000 residents. The title of this presentation, Here We Go Again, stems from the fact that in 2011 we had a much smaller event than Superstorm Sandy, which was Tropical Storm Irene, which in retrospect we were very happy to have had because it prepared us for the storm that we had last year, which was Superstorm Sandy. The amount of debris generated from Superstorm Sandy was about 530 to 540,000 cubic yards. This Irene event was about 75,000. So, and Gloria, which happened back in the 80s, which was the biggest storm to ever hit this area up until last year's event, was about 150,000 cubic yards. And everybody had been talking about that since I started working for the town as, like, you know, this amazing thing that happened. So we really knocked it out of the park last year with this storm. Unfortunately, caused a lot of damage. Here on the North Shore, it's mostly vegetative damage, and that's what my experience is. On the South Shore, as you probably have seen from various pictures and stuff, they had a lot more damage from the water. So they had demolition debris, they had white goods, you know, refrigerators, air conditioners, stuff like that. They had hazardous materials, oil tanks, gasoline tanks, all kinds of stuff like that. So, you know, in one respect, we were kind of lucky that we didn't have that extensive kind of damage and debris management. But probably, you know, and I haven't checked the figures, still waiting for everything to come in, I think that the Town of Huntington was very up there on the scale of vegetative debris. We had a considerable amount of vegetative debris. That was a big management task, as we had learned from the 2011 event, because when you have an event, you have to be able to, you want to get your money back from FEMA, so you need to keep good records. But you also need to prepare. You know that you're going to have a big storm. You need to be monitoring the weather. You got to figure out what you need. You know, if you need, like, we topped off all of our fuel tanks, chainsaws, stuff like that. Make sure our generators were working properly. You know, all these things in preparation, because obviously once the storm hit, there's no electricity, there's no transportation, there's no nothing. So you really need, you know, it's not a good time to want to go out and buy chainsaws after the storm has hit. It's not a good time to have to go out and buy cameras or your Trimble units or your computers or any of that. So you want to make sure you got all of that in advance. The other thing that I managed to find out was that we as the town didn't have an ArcGIS online account. And we had a server, but, you know, sometimes you lose connection and stuff like that, and it was really important that we had an off-site storage for our data for the debris management initially, until everything started coming back, you know, on the electricity, the internet, etc. So I reached out to Esri, you know, because they have, when there's an event coming, they'll hook you up with free product, you know, for the use during the storm event or the natural emergency or whatever other kind of emergency you could think of. So we ended up getting an ArcGIS online account, and I put together a small little map of the Town of Huntington, made it accessible to a number of different departments in the town. They were able to put information in the computer as they were getting phone calls from residents or emails from residents or text messages from residents or any other type of contact from a resident, and that cut down on duplication of information, because we had a lot of that in Irene. You know, you'd have 5 people calling up about the same tree that was down, so everybody could see that, okay, that tree has been recorded, the road is closed, we know that. You know, the next time that somebody calls about it, we don't need to record that again. I had contacted Esri the Friday before the storm hit in the afternoon on that Friday, and by Saturday morning I had the account all set up, and the application was in use on Monday. The storm had hit us on Sunday. So, you know, like I said, Esri was very responsive. I was talking to some people in their Philadelphia office the next morning, making sure that everything was set up and working properly. And I always want to emphasize how helpful that was. You know, that they were right there, and you know, their response went right up the food chain. I was talking to some pretty, you know, good people at Esri, not the people down at the bottom rung, and that was really helpful. What we did was we made an online map, and I'll show you how the thing kind of started out. The first iteration was just a point file. Now, the reason why I don't have any borders on here or any other information on here is that when you go to publish your service, everything that's on the screen, including the extent size, goes up to Esri's website. So you really want to make sure that you're only putting in the layers that you want, you know, that you want presented, because otherwise you're going to end up with all this other stuff, and you know, it kind of clutters everything up. It's really easy if you have 10.1 to publish a service, because all you really do is go publish the service and go through this whole thing. It's really simple. I was able to figure it out in a couple of minutes. The extent thing was a little bit of a problem because I didn't realize what was going on. When I loaded up the map, I was seeing the whole United States. It wasn't homing in on Huntington, but I got that sorted out. And once again, like I said, Esri was right there trying to, you know, get that help to us. Now, with regard to after the event, you know, after we recorded all the trees that were down, roads that were blocked, etc., we needed to get information from the field as far as what roads had already been cleaned. We figured out really fast that we weren't going to be able to tell anybody when we were going to be on a street. So, because what was going on was you could go to one road and there'd be hardly any debris, and you could go to a whole neighborhood where there was hardly any, and you go across a main road, and it would take 2 or 3 times as long to get through there. So what we decided internally to do is just show people where we already had been. So if they logged in, we were updating the map online every 2 days. People could at least see progress. You know, they could see us coming towards their neighborhood. A lot of people weren't happy about that, but we weren't able to tell people, oh yeah, we'll be there on Monday, we'll be there Wednesday. You know, we don't want to make any false promises, because that's just going to end up making things even worse. Low-tech data out on the road. I printed up maps, 11 by 17 sheets of areas. We have the town divided up into snow areas for the winter and maintenance areas in the summer, and there's more snow areas. So what we did was we used our snow areas for the purposes of crews, assigning a foreman with crews to do that area. And then I printed up maps for each of the foremen for that area and had them color it with highlighters. Low tech, no training necessary, doesn't matter if you drop it, really cheap. I gave them, you know, 15 or 20 copies of the map each. I had them delivered to me at the end of the day, every 2 days. The next morning I took them, put them on in the computer, really easy to do. It was no fuss, no muss. You know, not the whole, you know, GPS unit out in the field gets dropped, run over in the chipper, whatever. So we cut down on a lot of technology, and plus we would have needed to train the employees. Some other municipalities on Long Island did in fact have training, and they used iPads to take photographs, and that's something that, you know, we may want to look at in the future. But this worked out for us. The biggest thing for the event was operational awareness, knowing where our crews were, knowing what they were doing, knowing if there was any problems. Sometimes, because of the information that we were getting out of the field, we knew more about what was going on than some of the general foremen. We have 3 facilities, so we have a general foreman in each one. We could see where there was pockets of places where for some reason there hadn't been any activity, and you can see some of this on that screenshot on the right-hand side there. That was my map that I had up on the wall, and I would circle areas where we hadn't gotten into for one reason or another, or where the guys were taking a really, really long time to get through. You can see stuff on the eastern side of the town, in that guy Joe Mazzarella's area there. That was one of the worst hit areas in the whole town. It was just amazing. We were looking at it like, why is this guy going so slow through here? And you know, we were able to find out that when we drove through there with video cameras and stuff, that that area was way worse than a lot of the other parts of the town. So we ended up moving. As you can see, the green areas, those were foremen that had actually finished the first pass through their area, and we then transitioned those foremen into places where where they needed some help. So all of the mapping and stuff, and it was very effective for operational awareness. We didn't really have a flooding problem. I mean, we do have a shoreline, but the shoreline of this town goes from, you know, like sea level to about 150 to 200 feet. You know, people could walk up the hill and be out of harm's way pretty much. So we really didn't have a lot of problems with that. There was a few houses flooded, but it wasn't as bad as on the South Shore. South Shore is pretty flat. What we did was set up a WordPress website, which I've actually taken down, so I can't really show you. Used an iframe to show the maps that I'll show you in a second. Published out of ArcGIS 10.1. And that, like I said before, it was a big problem for some residents because they wanted to know when we were going to be on their street to clean up. But instead of giving them no information, we at least gave them an opportunity to see where we had already worked. Initially, the big problem here on Long Island was that there was no electricity. Everybody was mad about no power. Then, and at the same time, they couldn't get gas for their cars because there was no power. That was the big deal. Well, we realized that as soon as that was not a problem anymore, that the next thing was going to be a problem was the debris that was on the road. So we wanted to prepare an application that would allow people to see where we had been. And that's those debris maps. Once again, tried to manage people's expectations, not making any promises other than to say that we were going to clean everything up. We tried not to tell people when exactly that was going to happen. Try to make, we thanked the residents for being patient because it was just such a monumental task that nothing like this has ever happened to this town before in recorded history. 500,000 cubic yards of material. I think it was more like 530, 540. So you're talking 19,000 truckloads. Now for FEMA, each of those truckloads got 3 photographs. One photograph when the truck ended up at the dump site, a photograph of the placard that had to be on the side of the truck that said its capacity, and another picture of the truck leaving the dump site, because FEMA is very concerned that the truck is empty when it leaves because they don't want to be paying for the same material more than once. which I don't blame them for. But that was a big production, was getting those cameras every day, downloading the pictures, etc. We generated like 270 gigabytes of data, including the photographs, video, and documentation. Also, each of those truckloads had a load ticket. So we had 19,000 load tickets that we had to then eventually scanned. Well, we had to keep the original copies too, but I had to scan all of them. Most of the cameras that we used didn't have GPS, but we do have GPS on all of our trucks. So what I tried to do was to make sure that there was somebody at each facility that would check the cameras every day to make sure that the time was right on them. And the reason that that was important was because I would know where, which truck the camera was with, and then I could use the software to match the GPS points with the time from the pictures. So it made it like a cheap GPS camera, because the cameras we sent out were like $110 a piece. Some of the newer cameras now, they're $300 plus with GPS, and sometimes these cameras got crushed and lost and everything like that. Had to get some more storage because I wanted to make sure that we had copies. Even though we had 270 gig, I wanted to have more than one copy of that 270 gig of data. And like I said, we used the GPS from the vehicles to end up GPSing the images, and we took a lot of high-definition video of the event. FEMA loves photographs; they love video. So if you ever have to worry about, you have unfortunate to have an event of any scale, whether it be an ice storm or flooding or anything that is a declared emergency that FEMA is going to end up reimbursing you for, make sure that you document everything, because they love that. It's good for you too, because you'll know what happened. Because if you try and recreate an event a week later, or even sometimes the next day, you have no idea what exactly happened. So we had a lot of paperwork we had to do every day. Before I kick off to George, I'm going to show you a couple of things that we did online, and let me make sure I got the right browser here. Yeah, okay. All right. So this was the original application that we put together, and this is just points where there was road. We had got a phone call. The road was blocked. The people don't know if the road is blocked. They don't know if there was wires involved. Whatever, it didn't matter. We tried to record all of that. We had, if there was, if the road was blocked or not, or if they didn't know. That's how the colors were based. The other thing I told you before, we broke it up into snow areas. So there's pretty much all of our snow areas. You'll see some places up here on the North Shore. They're incorporated villages. We're not responsible for the maintenance in those areas. We have this little piece out here at Eaton's Neck, but other than that, we're pretty much, everything else is ours. And those, like I said, those are the snow areas. That was the original application that we did right out of the box. After that, the first 3 days, once we started picking up debris, maybe 5 or 6 days in actually, we ended up doing a different application to show the residents where, all right, let me see, we got round 1. I was playing around with this earlier, that's why. Okay, so now, basically, this map pretty much covers the whole entire town, because this was at the end of our first round of cleanup. The next one I'll show you, which the second round I never really put all the information in it, because we kind of got done a lot faster. Use the centerline file that's available from New York State NYS GIS, the cooperative. I've used that for quite a long time. Used that and then colored the line if we had actually already been on that street. And you can see there is a couple of areas where we hadn't gotten yet when I finished off this map. Once the first round of cleanup was done, then I went to a round 2, which is, yeah, you can see that there's, you know, quite a few more areas here that I didn't get a chance to color in because they just went through these places really quite a bit faster than we had done the first round. There was a lot less material out. If you haven't used ArcGIS Online, I would say don't be afraid of it. It's pretty easy to use, especially if you have 10.1 desktop, because you publish right out of the product. It's pretty easy to use. You know, you'll have a couple of little things you got to get used to, like the extent and things like that. But it's a pretty straightforward process. The next thing I want to show you is I'm going to plug our group here on Long Island Geographic Information Systems. I've been the chairman of this for a few years now. Looks like I have to fix something on my laptop because the plug-in's not working on the thing over there. But the other thing is, people should be aware there's quite a bit of weather information that you can get online if you're trying to track a storm. We use IntelliCast quite a bit because of the radar. The other thing that we use a lot is Weather Underground, which now is owned by the Weather Channel. These are all private weather stations. We have one at our facility here. That's the Elwood Highway office. That's where I'm sitting right now. It publishes out to the internet every couple of minutes, wind speed, temperatures, etc. You can see that we're pretty baking hot down here right now, and have been for the last few days. You can also see, and I'll pan, to the rest of the state. You can see that there's weather stations pretty much throughout the whole entire state of New York, and any other place that you want to go in the United States. And then if you select one of these, you'll see the information, precipitation, all kinds of other data. I use this quite a bit, and we use this internally quite a bit when there is a big storm coming, because the nice thing about it is you can see all the wind speeds right on the screen. It's kind of a no-brainer, and temperature, and you can see, you can actually set on the side of the screen to have have the thing show you the barometric pressure, so you can watch the barometer changing. You can see the storm coming in, when it's leaving, whatever. These tools are very important. Obviously, once the storm hits, you may not get to look at this for a little while, but before the storm comes in, it's a very nice tool to have to monitor, along with weather forecasts and the Hurricane Center things. And then there's a program called HurEvac, which people may be familiar with. That's actually from you get National Hurricane Center warnings and watches and evacuation orders and all kinds of things, and tidal gauges and all kinds of stuff are in the one product. It's really nice and easy to use. Now, after this event, I was talking to George Davis, who works with Latitude Geographics, and I was explaining to him, what had happened with us with regard to information and processing information and workflow and stuff, and then, telling him how, it would be kind of nice if there was an easy way to manipulate the workflow management and patterns of documentation and things like that. And with Latitude Geographics has a product called GeoCortex. So what I did was I sent him some of the, you know, that original file that we did about the trees down and stuff, and then he was able to, you know, come up with a way of, you know, putting together a way to show all of that information and all kinds of different products. Latitude Geographics, I believe, is a platinum partner of Esri, so they work very close together. So if there's any updates to the software, to Esri software, they're right there, you know, so you don't have to worry about, you know, some products where Esri updates to a new version and all the things that you had that were plugins and stuff, they don't work anymore, or they need to, you know, you can't really upgrade right away because you've got to wait for the plugin to be upgraded. And it's really nice the way they have it set up, is that it's pretty much going to be right out of the box. It'll work. I want to, you know, thank everybody for listening to me today, and I want to thank the guys that work with us here in the Highway Department, because without them, you know, we wouldn't have been able to handle the storm. Everybody worked really hard. We were working 12 hours a day from the day of the event until like past Christmas. I think we were like three months straight at 12 hours a day. So it was pretty big. You know, I mean, you know, it's nice. You know, in one respect, you have a few extra dollars in your pocket, but everybody was pretty shot. You know, they wanted to just have like a week off. I know I did. In the town, you know, the residents were very patient, and that's something you really need to emphasize with people, because everybody wants, especially here on Long Island, everybody wants everything about 3 weeks ago. You know, they don't want to wait a day, they don't want to wait 5 minutes. But you just can't produce that kind of response quickly and safely. I mean, the other thing I forgot to mention was none of our workers, none of our contractors, nobody got hurt out of all the stuff that we did. You know, working 12 hours a day, everybody's tired, trees, debris, wires, all that stuff, nobody got hurt. And with that, I'll hand off to George.
Thanks, Mike.
Here you go, George.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm George Davis from Latitude Geographics. Mike had come to me actually after the storm. We were talking. Mike and I have been friends for many years. I'm a member of LGIS, and we did a presentation at the LGIS spring meeting with Al Leidner. So first of all, I want to thank Al and Mike for giving me the opportunity to show a little bit of what we were able to do. I'm just going to go through a quick slideshow here of who we are and how the software works. What we did for Mike was to basically take the concepts of all the things he needed to put together to be able to get reimbursed by FEMA and put it into a web-based mapping application that has workflows and capabilities built into it that go above and beyond what you get out of the box with ArcGIS Server in this case. We also support ArcGIS Online, but for the example that I'm going to show later on, this is all being done in ArcGIS Server. So Latitude Geographics, as Mike was saying, we're an Esri Platinum partner. That's like 1% of the partners of Esri get to be Platinum. We're a software company. We're based out of Victoria, British Columbia. We have about 1,000 clients worldwide and offices in Canada, Rotterdam, in the Netherlands, and also I'm here in New York. I'm in Washington County in Whitehall. So you have many different challenges that, you know, with GIS and keeping up with the different requests, too much time spent doing repetitive tasks, and all different types of platforms where you have mobile apps and websites and desktop applications. And what we're going to do is show you how we can kind of take a lot of these things, put it together in a very cost-effective manner. So again, there's a bunch of challenges. Esri's technology is changing fast. You have different types of platform technologies that went from ArcIMS into ArcGIS Server and eventually into ArcGIS Online. And then the different applications and marketplace applications that we're able to leverage now. So there's a lot of data and a lot of different ways to use the data, and that's what we're good at, is showing you how to manage it. So again, server technology went from Web ADF to REST. Client technology went from ASP to Flex and Silverlight and HTML5. If I'm going too fast, let me know. What we've learned, it's extremely important to have a strategy for managing these changes, and that's really what GeoCortex is about. So it's difficult to maintain more than one web mapping application, and typically what we're finding is people create one-off. So you have a problem and you create a website for it. What we do here is we combine a bunch of different services, map services, database connections, customized tools, security, the integration, report generation, search capability, and a very powerful workflow management system. And what this allows us to do is eliminate having to write custom code in our applications. We're typically in a one-off web application. For all those things that I just listed, it takes custom code to write it. So in this example, it's basically showing that you have one application going to one use case, but then you might have different people that have different needs to access that same database. And does your one-off application serve the greater group? What we're looking at then is that you can create targeted applications. So from the same server, you can have applications that meet the needs of each one of the stakeholders without having to write a separate application for them. It can all be done through management of the website. So typically, you had administrators to the website to the end users. What we're looking at now is that you can have multiple devices, multiple end users, and they can all share from a common database. So the administrator now just has to manage from one site, but it could be on multiple devices and to multiple end users and their use cases. So what we find is that one-off web mapping applications are difficult to manage, and they have a problem when you try to reuse them, and they become redundant. The cost to maintain is more. There's a lack of standardization, and a problem like with one person knows how the site was set up, and they leave, and then you're kind of stuck having to rebuild the site. So what we've learned is that you can create a system which is called GeoCortex, our product, that allows you to then manage the applications where you can develop it in-house, you can work with a third party, you can purchase a viewer product, and you can use one of Esri's viewers. Our spatial application infrastructure allows us then to have the administrator be able to manage all those applications that are on one server to multiple users and use cases. So again, here's some examples of different applications that might be done, and within our spatial applications infrastructure, this is all being done by configuration and not custom programming. So it's very easy to learn, and it's very easy to maintain, and it's repeatable, so that you can take any workflow that you create or any one of the services that you create, and you can use them over and over again in more applications. An example, Vermont Center for Geospatial Information has multiple agencies right now that are using our application across the board, and I'll just quickly show some of their examples. So their Natural Resources Department, and they have a product called BioFinder for doing different types of plants and trees that are growing within the state, so that you can see different diverse areas of the state and what plants and trees are growing in them. There's a Vermont interactive map. This is on the VCGI website, so if you'd like to go check them out, all these applications are available there online. One of the things that happened in Vermont, they get hit pretty hard by Hurricane Irene. So we're working with them with the statewide 911 system, and we have the flood mapping and weather and all that included into a pretty much a common operating picture for the 911 operators, so they can know as an event is happening, having all that data available in one place in an easy-to-use web map. I'm going to flip through these quickly because I want to show you Mike's application. So the other thing that we're bringing to the table here is the use of HTML5. And what HTML5 allows us to do is to have the same mapping application on multiple devices, and it's all being served from one server. And depending on the device that you're using, it'll scale the user interface to that device so that you could use it on a laptop and you'd have a more robust set of tools, where down to a smartphone where we actually limit the real estate, but you still have the same functionality. And that's available then on iOS, Android, and Windows phones. So it's browser-based, so you're not writing a custom application for each type of device, so that as long as your device supports a browser and it can reach the HTML page, all that information will come up. So these are some examples. So again, the hybrid approach of having a device where you're writing an application is limited, where HTML5 with the phone gap capability, you can take control of all the different devices inside your phone, your camera, your GPS, and so forth. So it leverages your smartphone device or tablet to be able to use all its internal components and then present that as part of your GIS. One of our clients in the Netherlands used a tablet-based application to do a pipeline management system. And again, this is all out in the field. It can be in both connected or disconnected mode. They can go out and do their assessment of what's going on and then pop it up to the server, where you can then create more customized reports and workflows. I'm going to go through this quickly because I want to just show the application, but I wanted to give you an idea of the background of what we're doing here. Is that from one single platform, you can have applications that support the debris cleanup that we're doing for Mike. It could also be for your police, fire, and emergency management systems. So it becomes an integrated platform the same way as your Esri technology allows you to do that. So we have applications for policing, for situational awareness, emergency response, transportation security. And what we provide is a common operating platform that could sit in the middle of all of those and make them interoperate with each other, so that if your public safety people and your public works people need to share the same information, you don't have to replicate a website to do that. You can just cut and paste workflows into the web pages across the board. So 911 systems, fire pre-planning, and different public safety applications. So again, Duncan Selwood is the person to contact. He's the Northeast Regional Sales Manager, and in my contact information is George Davis. I'm at gdavis@latitudegeo.com. And let me switch to the web page. All right, so the first application I'm going to show you, this is a Silverlight version of Mike's map, where he basically gave us the data that he wanted to present, and we put it onto the map. So the first thing we'll look at is the HTML5 viewer, and this will be out in the field. So here what we did is that you have a pull-down menu called our I Want To menu. And here, this can either be on a public-facing website where the public can be filling in this application, or it can be in a tablet or a smartphone out in the field where you can work where you're connected to the internet, or if you're disconnected, you can still gather the information by caching all the data from your area of interest into your device, take it out into the field, do your assessment, and then when you get back to a connected environment, you can then upload your data to the server. So simply we'll go through a quick report here. So I launched a workflow, and it's asking me, I want to request service for a fallen tree. So let's say I want to do that by address, and I'll just pick the default address that's in here to save some time. And what the workflow will do now is provide me with a menu of things that I could fill in. So is the road blocked? We'll say yes, and we'll say, are there hangers, meaning there are branches that are hanging from the tree that may not have fallen to the ground. They might be, in the wires and things like that. So then we could just basically type in our name. or phone number, email. And then any comments. And then submit your report. So what it's doing now is it's actually taken that service request and it's created that location, and then I'll just say that I'm done. So now this would be what you'd be using out in the field, and again, if you had a smartphone device that's GPS enabled and camera enabled, you can take the GPS location and the picture in the application. To save some time, I'm going to go to the viewer in Silverlight. Now this would be where this could be back in the office, and I want to say create a tree status report. So here what you're seeing is in the map we have the roadways that were cleaned and roadways that are blocked, and you have the trees that were reported. So I'm just going to go back to that same address that I picked from before. And I'll just say hangers, and I'm just going to bring this first down to the area where this tree was entered. And as you see, I can click on that now, and I've created several different reports. So if I come back here, I'll say, give me that report. And then I can view the additional details, and then all the attribute information that I entered on the smartphone device is now entered as part of that report. So then what I could do is run that report to generate a PDF file that'll give us the location of the trees that were damaged, and it'll show us the pictures that were taken. So the idea here was to take all the different pain points that Mike was saying he had. He had lots of paperwork to fill out. He had lots of pictures to take. He had lots of GPS points to put onto the map. And what we were able to do by using the workflow is to take a bunch of these complex tasks and turn it into just basically pushing the buttons, entering the information that you need, and then creating a very detailed report. One of the features of GeoCortex is it also provides you with the QR code. So if you have a smartphone or tablet device, you can scan the QR code on the report and it'll take you back to the map in the same exact location. So if you wanted to add more data, after the event, you could very easily go back and locate all the different locations of the trees that were damaged and create that report that you could send off to FEMA. So the idea of this was to basically take all the information that Mike could provide us with and turn it into an easier to use method of managing it and being able to distribute it to a wider audience to see what was going on, and then also to use it to send into FEMA to get reimbursement for the $30 million some odd dollars that was spent to do the debris cleanup. Mike, do you want to jump in at all?
No, I think you've kind of covered everything. I'm a big fan of the QR codes because they're pretty idiot-proof. And like I said before, there's a lot of people that don't have technology, and being able to hand them some paper sometimes actually is a good thing. And then if they do have to go online and do any further editing, like I said, the QR code brings them right to the record. They don't have to enter anything else in. So I like that quite a bit.
So if anyone would like to see some more about how we go about doing this, if you have some problems that you're trying to manage, that a workflow process and report generation above and beyond what you get out of the box with your ArcGIS server, if that's something that you're interested in, please feel free to contact me. I have my contact information up on the screen. And look forward to seeing you all at the New York State GIS Conference later this year. And that's about all I have. So thank you all for attending. And thank you, Mike and Al Leidner. And I guess we can conclude the webinar.
And I ditto that.
If there are any questions, can we open it up for questions at all?
Right.
No, not seeing it. Yep, not seeing any questions.
Whatever.
Is there a diner around here?
There's, you know, where the little, it's right before the pizza place. It's like the little coffee shop. I call it a little diner. This has got the bar thing.
Oh, okay.
Enjoy it. Stay cool. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Are we going to get some questions, or? I guess not.
I'm trying to unmute people so people can.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry. I wasn't understanding what was happening.
I'm unmuting people if they want to ask questions. Whoa, I don't know what that noise was. Okay, people are unmuted if they want to ask questions.
Well, you know, you can add like, but not that much. I don't have a.
This is Al Leidner. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Al.
But,
Go ahead.
Okay, my question would be, I understand that using these methods enabled you to save some estimated money that it otherwise would have cost you to do this, or get greater reimbursement. Do you have an estimate on those amounts?
I would say that, because I know, like, in the Nassau County, which is the adjoining county, they used pretty heavily used electronics technology to document the information. And the amount of time, I mean, I was probably spending a couple of hours every day at the end of the day to record all of this stuff. So, you know, you figure, you know, at least 2 hours a day for about 70 or 80 days. You know, if you had something like this in place within the field, that cuts back on all of that. And also, the important thing is,
because
I
then,
think that it's much more accurate.
right, and they can hit your server, and
Anytime you
that's what we
introduce
left
people,
on.
it gets a little bit, you know, you're introducing error too. So if you're recording it right away, it's exactly right. GPS points already, photographs already, GPS, the whole thing. And then being able to look at it in a multi-platform environment is really nice too. Because when I was out in the field, I did have a tablet and I did have a smartphone. A lot of the other people didn't. But I could see where it could be, you know, a tremendous savings, and you're going to get real-time information too, just like I had to.
Thanks, Mike.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah. Walker.
People are unmuted, by the way. Just in case you didn't know.
This could get scary.
Anybody else have any other questions?
This is Al Leidner again. I have a comment. I would simply like to thank Mike and George for I think this will be the first of quite a series of similar kinds of webinars that demonstrate GIS applications in the field, in the regions, and the localities that show benefits and also demonstrate the use of cutting-edge technology. So thanks again, George and Mike, and this is the beginning, I think, of something along these lines.
Thank you, Al.
I think the microphone. Thanks. My volume is really low.
So sometimes what's worse is that sometimes I will see this information, and sometimes I won't.
Okay, I guess we're
Looks like-
done.
I guess so.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Hey,
The organizer